Hi there, it's Ryan Liberty. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, what is the silent treatment?
Ooh, ah.
Okay, here we are. I'm not going to give you the silent treatment, but we're going to get to what it is and what it feels like for the person who's experiencing it. But before I get into that, there is a little thing that I like to say. I've got some notes below that I'm referencing to make sure I don't miss anything here. But the silent treatment is an abusive tactic. It's an abusive behavior, so this video may be triggering for some of you. If that's the case, this might be a good time to shut the video off and either return to it later when you're feeling like you're more up for it, or just not come back to it. That's also okay. So this is just a trigger warning for you to have that opportunity to turn the video off if you're triggered by abusive behavior. It is a form of emotional abuse, and emotional abuse is different from physical abuse. You know, physical abuse, we can see marks on the skin, we can feel the pain, we can kind of see what's going on. Emotional abuse is different, and we all do a little bit of what could be considered emotional abuse. The way that we distinguish that is abusive is when it's something that we do over and over and over and over again as part of an established pattern of the way that we behave in the world. And the silent treatment is a form of emotional abuse, and we know that it is a problem when it's a pattern happening over and over again. Some of you may be visiting this video because you may be in a situation where the silent treatment is used regularly. Could be an abusive situation. So if you find that you're here seeking support, I urge you to go find the support that will help to nurture you and help you to get out of this situation or make the right decisions for yourself. That may be a therapist, that could be a support group, whatever feels good for you. But don't sit on this, don't let the abusive behavior continue. Take some steps, be proactive to take control of your own mental health and your own mental well-being. So all of that said, let's get into what the silent treatment is, and later I'll get to what it feels like for the person who's experiencing it. So it is a prolonged pattern of using silence, to manipulate somebody, to control them, or to escape personal responsibility for something that we've done. It is used to wear down somebody's self-esteem and to stop them from being assertive about their own needs. It's often used as punishment, and it's done because you'll find this in intimate relationships, and silence is a form of withholding affection from somebody. It's often followed by a period of relief that somebody's speaking to us again, and sometimes that relief period is also embellished with like extra affection and extra love. And this all is part of the traumatic bonding pattern, which is to punish and then to give affection, punish and give affection over and over and over again. That's something that helps to create a traumatic bond and keeps unhealthy, intimate relationships continuing. So just be aware that sometimes this period of relief and extra attention and affection comes after the silent treatment ends, and that's also part of the manipulation of it. It is different from a boundary. It's different from somebody who expresses, I need to take 5 minutes and can we stop this conversation? I need to take 5 minutes and cool down, or I'm gonna leave the room, or I need a couple days, whatever it is. That's not the silent treatment. That is assertiveness, and that's perfectly acceptable. Sometimes when we have heated discussions, when things get a little bit emotionally too intense, it's appropriate to say, you know what, let's take a pause, let's time out, and we'll come back to this later. Totally appropriate. That would not be considered the silent treatment. The silent treatment is prolonged. It is the pattern that we talked about, and there's no expressing of, there's nothing that happens in boundaries. There's no healthy expressing of what's going on when it comes to the silent treatment. So it is not selective mutism, it's not avoidant personality disorder, it's not social anxiety disorder, it's not something that's happening because somebody is abusing a substance or a medical issue or any of those kinds of things. This is an abusive tactic, and it's used for the reasons I stated, to manipulate somebody, control them, or avoid our personal responsibility in things. So let's get to some examples of what the silent treatment would be like, and then we'll get to how it feels. So it could be refusing to speak with you because you said something that bothered the person, and very often apologizing doesn't get them to speak again. You could say, I'm sorry 100 times, they're still not going to talk to you, and it's meant, again, to punish you for saying something that they didn't like, or doing something that they didn't like. Now, very often, another example of this is doing that same thing, but they won't tell you what it is that you did. So you're left there to just kind of question yourself, try to figure it out, and we're going to get to more of that and how it feels. They may refuse to speak with you because you didn't do what they want, and this is where that manipulative, controlling part of the silent treatment comes in. Or they may do something that's a little bit different than what we usually think of when we think of the silent treatment, because it involves communication. And that is that they may just ignore the things that you say and constantly change the subject and bring it back to themselves. So basically, they're just disregarding your concerns, disregarding the things that you want to talk about constantly as a pattern, and that could be a form of the silent treatment. They often also will not answer questions that under normal circumstances would require an answer. So if you're two parents of a child and you're asking your spouse or your partner, we need to I need some information for their school, for their teacher. I know you had this information somewhere. Where is it? That would demand an answer normally, but they won't answer those kinds of questions because they're seeking to punish or manipulate you in some way with the silent treatment. Just a reminder, this is a pattern. We all do this a little bit here and there. That's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. But it's when it's a regular pattern of dealing with somebody, that's when it becomes a problem, and that's when it becomes emotional abuse. So how does it feel for the person who's experiencing the silent treatment? Well, first, you may have some symptoms of anxiety. You may have some symptoms of trauma. I don't want to get into all of that here. I do have videos on both of those. But basically, you may find your heart beating a little faster. You may have trouble breathing, sweating. You may just feel like you're under a lot of pressure. Now, as far as what's happening in your head, this is one of the worst parts of the silent treatment, is that you feel very worried and you feel confused. You start to question yourself, and you start eating away at your own thoughts. You say things like, what did I do? Why won't they talk to me? Did I do something wrong? What should I do now? What am I a bad person? Maybe I must have done something horrible to deserve this. Like, you start to really chip away at yourself. And that's one of the worst parts of receiving a prolonged silence like this. And it leads to the emotions, which are things like maybe at first feeling angry and frustrated, and then when that doesn't get them to speak, feeling sad and depressed, maybe a little scared, starting to feel guilty, even if you're not really guilty of something, feeling powerless because there's nothing that you can do to change their behavior, and then ultimately starting to feel a little bit crazy because what's happening doesn't make any sense, and you can't make any sense of what you can do to stop it because you typically like this person or you're in love with this person, and it doesn't make sense that this is happening. Now, as far as your behavior in reaction to the silent treatment, you may find that you're desperately attempting to get them to talk, and that could include things like raising your voice, following them around, or profusely apologizing. I'm sorry for what I did. Please tell me what I did. I don't know what I did, but I will never do it again. I just want you to talk to me, that kind of thing, like pleading and begging for them to talk to you again. You may find that you want to retaliate, and you may do that by giving them your version of the silent treatment or getting physical because the talking isn't working, so you may feel like you want to shake them or get physical in some way, which I would encourage you not to do. You may withhold affection from them, anything to retaliate and to say, this isn't going to work on me. You may do things to prove that you're right in the situation. You may start seeking help from other people to understand what's going on. So you may start asking other people all the questions that you've been asking yourself. What's going on? Why is he or she doing this? I don't know how this happened. What can I do? It's just generally this frantic desire to get them to talk with you again and to just understand what's happening. And it's really a corrosive situation to be in for the person who's on the receiving end. It is one of the top relationship killers. So if you find that this is a emotionally abusive tactic that's being used on you very often, I would encourage you to distance yourself from that person and, if possible, end that relationship, because it will harm you over the long term. I appreciate you coming to get to know about the silence treatment today, and I'd love to know what your experience has been like, or if you have any suggestions for somebody who's going through the silent treatment. So please comment below and leave them. And a reminder that this is abusive, so just take care of yourself, guys. I've been through it myself. I know it's horrible, and I just want to remind you that this is something that you should not keep in your life. It's not acceptable. So thank you for learning about it today with me, and I thank you for being here. Hey, it's Ryan Liberty. If you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up, share with a friend, and leave any questions or comments down below, because that would really help me out. If you're somebody who's gone through a traumatic event and you're feeling cut off from the people around you, I have a free course that will help with that, so please click to get it. And if you'd like to see the rest of my videos, please click subscribe. As always, I want to remind you that your life matters. Nobody can question your worth. However it is that you're feeling, whatever it is that you're going through, it's okay, and you are loved. Thanks again for watching.